Okay, happy Sabbath, everyone. We are now live. Welcome to this week's Youth Converse. It's so wonderful to be here. We are back at it again, 3 p.m. Sabbath afternoon, and we're here together to discuss a few things. It'll be myself, Jason from Immanuel Church. We have Maddie. Maddie, if you just want to come on quickly to say hi to everyone.
Hi everyone. So I'll just give a little introduction. My name is Maddie. I am a part of the Immanuel Church. I'm a part of the youth group. I'm 18 years old, so I'll be going to first year uni. I just graduated from grade 12, and I like to play sports, and I like to hike, and yeah, just have fun. So thanks, Jason.
Thanks so much, Maddie. That was wonderful. And also something interesting about Maddie, she'll probably be one of the first people to be able to attend U of Ottawa from Toronto, which is going to be something quite interesting. So good luck for that first semester. We also have Kiana, who will be joining us shortly. And so together we'll be discussing idiomatic expressions and figuring out if they are biblical or not. And so when we discuss, we'll kind of understand what are idiomatic expressions, do we know what those are, why do they matter, and so on. So before we begin, our first song for today will be In the Sweet By and By Fountain View, In the Sweet By and By. So please enjoy.
There's a land that is fairer than day, and by faith we can see it afar. For the Father waits over the way to prepare us a dwelling place there. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. In the sweet we shall meet on that beautiful shore. We shall sing on that beautiful shore the melodious songs of the blessed, and our spirit shall sorrow no more, not a sigh for the blessing of rest. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. We
Wow. Doesn't
Amen.
that look beautiful? Amen. All right. So, Maddie, what are idioms?
Well, I mean, I obviously can't get a good enough explanation as you, but kind of my take are their expressions, and they're kind of just like using other words to express a situation or a scenario, kind of like a feeling. And I would just say, like, yeah, it's like using other words to express a situation that you wouldn't necessarily like use those words, like, because I feel like, you know, over generations, like there's different idioms that would come up using different words. So yeah, I just say kind of expressions using other words to kind of explain the situation or scenario better.
Nice. I like that. So, do you want to give an example of one?
Sure, I'll give an example, but I mean, I'm gonna explain some idioms, but the one that I know best is no pain, no gain. That's my
Okay.
favorite one, to be
All
honest. So I'll
all
say
right.
that one.
Yeah. No, we'll get into the discussion of it. So,
We will. Yeah,
yeah.
that's one.
So, what we wanted to do today is to kind of go through a couple of idiomatic expressions. So, as Maddie has explained, they are phrases and things that are put together that are, to help explain different concepts and ideas. And, so it saves time on trying to explain that, oh, it was raining and it was pouring like this and so on. It was raining cats and dogs. Okay, cool. Everybody understands, kind of gets that. And so idiomatic expressions are used in different cultures and that sort of thing. And we wanted to take a look at some and see which ones are biblical, and perhaps understand ways that we can use these idiomatic expressions to help, share the spiritual aspect of what we as a church believe about some of them. So, with that, I see that Kiana is here. So Kiana, welcome as well. Do you want to come on and say hi and ask Maddie the first one?
Yes, thank you, Jason, for taking over and just introducing what we're gonna do today. So we'll get right into it. Our first idiom is, Maddie's gonna start off. It's the blessing in disguise. So maybe give a bit of context, Maddie, and then you can elaborate on it.
Oh, my mic is off. Okay. So I'm a blessing in disguise. How I take of it is basically just a situation happening that you might have not have wanted in the first place. And, you didn't think there would be a good outcome, and there is a good outcome. So that's why you call it a blessing in disguise, because something good has happened out of whatever situation or scenario that you never thought would have happened. So kind of, disguise, you didn't see it coming in a sense. And I can even think of some situations at school. Actually, one situation at my school, there was a blessing in disguise, was in grade 10, my science teacher, we didn't have a science teacher. So basically the new science teacher for grade 10 was my gym teacher. And he was also my soccer coach, and he was super, super like chill and cool. Like, I knew I'd get like an easy A in that class. And I was so excited. I was like, yes, like science is gonna be so easy. I'm gonna get such a good grade. Parents gonna be so proud. And literally after the first week, like it was so chill. Like the first week, like we made marshmallows the first week. It was literally, we didn't do anything. And then a new teacher came, and then he got kicked out, and we had a new teacher. And we came in the class, she started making, like assigned seats, started giving us all this work. And I was like, yo, this is gonna suck, because like, I knew she was gonna be hard, and she didn't look like she was a nice person. But actually turns out she, in the like long run, like after grade 12, she ended up being my favorite teacher. She literally helped me through so much. She helped me write my university applications. She really like helped me and pushed me. She helped me get into, I like to say she's like one of the reasons I got into UFT, because, she helped with my whole application and essays and stuff. And yeah, so I'm just saying that was really a blessing in disguise. Like at first, I really didn't believe that she would be a good teacher. And I thought like, I was really upset that I had her as my teacher, but then she became one of my favorite teachers. So yeah, that's one of the blessings in disguise.
So how do you think we can apply this in like church context?
So I think we can apply this in church context because God has his plan for you, and no one knows. You just have to have faith in him. And I feel like there's a lot of times where you're going through something and you're like, oh, like I can't believe this is happening to me, or oh, like, I would just like when bad things happen to you, you just think that there will be no good outcome of it. But I feel that God, every time he's putting something in your life, he knows what's going to happen, and he's putting that in your life to help you grow, to teach you an experience. So they're definitely having faith in God. There's a lot of blessings in disguise that you will never expect from him because, he is the Most High. So, yeah.
Right. And I can really think of, that brings me to the verse of all things work for good. That's basically, even if anything bad is happening, it is a blessing, literally in disguise. That's what his word says. So thank you, Maddie. Jason, do you want to add anything on this idiom?
No, I think that was a great explanation, Maddie, as well. So yeah, the only other story that I thought of was Joseph, and how his brothers, threw him away, and he was taken away as a slave, and he became Pharaoh's right hand. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so my next one, Jason, you could start off. It is what goes around comes around.
What goes around comes around. Wow. So when do you usually say this to someone? Maybe after, something has happened in your favor, and, this person has done something to you, and you're like, oh, you see, what goes around comes around. But yeah, I think in the world, people tend to associate it with karma, and karma being a concept of, all the actions that you do now will have a cause and an effect and decide some sort of destiny and fate. And, we don't believe in karma as Adventists. What we do believe in is sin and the consequences of sin for our actions. And yeah, so for me, that one, I do hear it quite a bit. And I sometimes just wonder if people understand what it means and so on, and understand that, we don't actually believe in that. God's mercy has paid like a lot of the price and holds back a lot of the karma that we should experience,
Right.
if that's the case.
Yeah. So would you say that you wouldn't use this idiom like in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I personally don't use this one. I don't know about you or Maddie.
I personally don't use it, maybe as a joke, because exactly what you said, that's not what we believe in. That's not what I believe in. It's sin, and we all are going to serve the consequence of sin. So maybe as a joke, but never as a literal, in the literal use. Yeah. Maddie, do you want to add anything on this one, or you're okay?
Oh yeah, I just say like what Jason said, kind of like I don't use that one because I personally, I don't hear that one as much, to be honest. So yeah.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask the next one because it's super similar, but it's a little bit different. Getting a taste of your own medicine. Jason, if you wanna maybe elaborate on that one and then kind of give the difference, because it's similar as what goes around comes around.
Right. I feel like, when someone says that to you, they are being petty. It's like, oh, now you're getting a taste of your own medicine. But I feel like that falls under one of the things under what comes around goes around, So what comes around goes around is like the big thing of karma. And then under that, people will say, oh, like, getting a taste of your own medicine, and it's like something that happens almost immediately back for that. I think when I was thinking of it, getting a taste of your own medicine, I think I do understand and see how, sometimes that does happen for people. I think we just maybe shouldn't use it in a, like, what do you call it? Like a way to kind of make fun of people, but just help them kind of understand that, hey, like, this is what happened, but you see, this is what happens when you do this. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't say you should say it, but I think it's a way also that God humbles us, not using the exact word, but he does kind of give us a taste of our own medicine sometimes when he needs to humble us, and we look back and we're like, oh yeah, I was doing that. So yeah, don't say it, but in your head, say it. Okay, we're gonna do one more. Maddie, you can start off before we give a break and go into our second song. Best of both worlds.
Okay, so like when I personally, because I was born in like 2002, when I hear that phrase, I think of Hannah Montana. And I think of, and that's literally how I understand it, because, you know, she lived her like, you know, life as a normal teenager, and she was also a star. So when I think best of both worlds, I just feel like you're kind of living, you know, like two lives in a sense, or getting like the experience of both things that other people might not get to experience. And, you know, like I feel personally, for me, like sometimes I live kind of both worlds because I grew up, you know, in the Adventist community, but I never went to like an Adventist school. So I kind of got to see, you know, what public school is like, and like also grew up in the Adventist community. So I kind of got, I'd say, both worlds in a sense. So that's kind of how I see the best of both worlds. Yeah.
How do you think that can apply like church-wise then? Is this an okay saying?
I personally think for me, it was a good experience to see what it's kind of like on the, I guess, like outside world, you know, not being at an Adventist like middle school or high school. And especially like if you're, because I'm going to also like a non-Adventist university. So I would say it just taught me how, I guess, other people work in a sense. And it's not, you know, like I'm not in such a tight community. I can see kind of, and I feel like also gave me an chance to share my faith with others and share my faith with other people who are not Adventist, you know, and kind of be a light to other people. So I would see kind of that's how I can relate it to church-wise.
Do you think this can apply to also our relationship with God?
I think like for me, like yes, but I wouldn't say that for everyone, you know, like every person is different, but I feel like kind of having both worlds strengthen my relationship with God, because, you know, when I'm with other people who are not the same religions as me, it helps me kind of realize that, like, you know, not everyone is like me. You know, I personally tend to not follow like my public school friends as much as like my Adventist friends. Like if my Adventist friends were, you know, doing like the same things, you know, I'd be more lenient to follow them, because I'm like, oh, you know, we grew up from the same religion and background, you know, they believe what I believe. So I feel like that the fact that I was kind of in two worlds really helped me strengthen my faith and realize kind of who I am and stand firm. So
okay, last question, because I'm kind of looking at this from a different standpoint, because like in our walk with God, we have the good and we have evil. That's technically what the worlds are, right? So in that way, is there a possibility to have best of evil and best when we follow God?
Well, personally, like I think, okay, I wouldn't say maybe not the best, but I feel like the fact that I've seen it helps me more, because I know that I don't want that in a sense. But that's what I was saying. Like I said, like it could depend the person, because some people, when they see that, they're just gonna go and stay in that kind of, I guess, bad world in a sense. Right. But seeing that other world, I wouldn't say like I, you know, lived it, but I got to see it and realize, you know, like I will never ever go there.
Yeah. So you chose the best of God's world, basically.
Right. I guess.
By seeing both. Yeah. Jason, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I think you guys are bringing out some really, really deep points here, because when you also think about in the Garden of Eden, like the tree of good and evil, you know, God was disappointed that, you know, we had that. Like he was firstly, you know, like obviously with the fall, he was quite sad about that, and you know that is what, you know, started sin, at least on this earth. But, you know, like when he says it, you know, like, oh, now they shall be like us, they shall know good and evil. it sounded like he wasn't happy about that. He doesn't really want us to know the evil. He only wants us to know the good. But he wanted to play out good and evil so that we could ultimately decide with our free will that we want only good.
Right.
So I really like what Maddie's saying, because sometimes, you need to have an understanding of the two worlds so that you can actually really choose which is the best world for you. So I really liked what you guys were saying. Thanks.
Right. Thank you, Jason. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in. Thank you for staying tuned. We are just going to take a quick break. We're going to listen to Hallelujah, played on the Chinese zither. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. So welcome back. For those of you, if you guys are just joining, we are discussing idioms and just their origin and how they play a part either in the world or in the church. So my next idiom is going to be for Jason. You could start off. Speak of the devil.
And he doth appear. Speak of the devil. So we usually use this one, when you are speaking about somebody and then they arrive. So you're like, oh, wow, they just appeared. So I think it kind of, speaks to the way that it's kind of eerie and weird to be talking about somebody and then all of a sudden they just arrive. So, you almost feel like that's a quality of the devil to do that. So that's kind of where it comes from. Do I use it? I've used it a couple of times, not too much. I think it's more humorous. I think that's where I've used it in a work setting. But yeah, like is it biblical? I would kind of almost say that, what you will find is like when you do speak, not necessarily of someone, but the idea of, if you say some things, the devil is always listening, and kind of wants to be there to tempt you and to bring, ill fortune upon you. So I think in that sense, yes, but I don't think in the sense of speaking about someone, to be like, I'm going to speak about Maddie now, and then, she's going to appear. Like, no, I don't think that's quite biblical. That's more superstitious.
Right. I think, yeah, that one was pretty straightforward. So we're gonna go to Maddie's favorite one that she talked about in the beginning. No pain, no gain. So maybe just explain what it means, Maddie, and then explain what it means to you. Give some context about it.
Okay. Do you want me to also explain like it spiritually too?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'll do all three. Okay, so no pain, no gain. I see this as like, this is usually used in a sense like if you're working out or you're doing sports, kind of like, when you work out, like you're not going to improve if it doesn't hurt or if it's not hard, like if you're just easily going by, like nothing's going to happen. So they use the expression no pain, no gain, because like once it hurts, like you're going to get better and, going to get better and better. And you're going to be gaining either muscle strength or, just getting faster, things like that. So that's kind of what it means. This is my favorite one because I hear this one all the time, especially like because I play sports. So when I'm in rugby, like my coach, she's very intense because she played from Team Canada. So like she really knows how to like push people. So, if I'm running, she makes sure that she's behind me, so if she even just sees me just slowing down, she'd be like, come on, Maddie, like pick it up. You gotta go. And she likes to use, no pain, no gain, especially, in rugby because, you're hitting people and, like it hurts a lot and you get lots of bruises and lots of injuries. So she always likes to say, no pain, no gain. And even I say it to myself, if I'm at the gym and I don't want to do something or if something is heavy and I'm like, it's not worth it, I make sure I tell myself, like, Maddie, like if you want to get stronger, if you want to get better, you got to lift it. You got to keep on going, like it hurts. Even like the expression of pretty hurts, like sometimes just, like to get better, you need to go through some stuff and it needs to be hard. And I also see this very spiritual because the fact that God puts trials in our life to make us better, to make us stronger, to make us wiser. So I see it as in, you're going to be going through something really hard and you're like, why is, this happening to me? Why is God allowing this? But God is putting this in your life to make you stronger so that, in the future you are more prepared. And if something like that happens again, you'll be like, oh, like it's soft, I've been through this before. So that's how I feel God kind of, puts that in our lives, the no pain, no gain in a sense.
Right. Thank you, Maddie. Jason, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. Go, Maddie, go, keep running. I really like that idea. And I think also in the spiritual aspect, I also think about how, God, through his son takes on all the pain so that we could have like salvational gain. So I really see that as something that, when I hear no pain, no gain, I also think a lot of times of exercise, but I also think sometimes about, what Jesus had done, to really like take that pain and yeah, make things really work out for us. I think that's really encouraging. So I like that one.
Thank you. I agree. The next one, Jason, you can start off. It's already here. Stealing someone's thunder. So what does that mean, first of all?
So stealing someone's thunder, I think we tend to use it when it's you are taking credit for somebody else's hard work. You know, their thunder is, you know, lightning is something that, you know, you see, and like thunder is something that you hear. And so, you know, when everybody kind of hears that, you know, thunder, that like, you know, you get that accolade or that award or something's happening, you kind of take that away from someone. And yeah, I think that of course isn't biblical, because, you know, one is, you know, taking credit for someone else's thing is stealing, and then even just taking credit, you know, wanting to take credit for yourself. And I think we find ourselves taking credit for a lot of things God does. And I think this is one that probably musicians might, you know, struggle with at times, because, you know, like when they sing, they really sing beautifully and so on. And people want to say, oh, you're an amazing singer. Like, that was beautiful. That was amazing. And, you know, they're like, yeah, thank you so much. You know, like, you know, we're taught to be like, no, praise God, you know, thank you, God, because we don't want to take away his thunder.
Yeah, we often do that in everything, not just music at all. Maddie, do you want to add anything to what Jason just said?
Yeah, like I agree with Jason. I also kind of view stealing the thunder in like, not like just taking credit, but just like showing, you know, someone up. Like if you're on a performance and then like you guys are both singing and then someone just, you know, just goes off, and the other person's there like, okay, you know, it's kind of stealing their thunder, which, you know, is not very nice. So yeah, it's just add on a bit.
Thank you both of you guys. Okay, my next one is God's plan. Maddie, you could start off with that.
Okay, so I would say when I first think God's plan, I think, you know, God's actual plan, but because of our generation, Drake has made a song that has become very popular called God's Plan. So when you hear that, like, most likely your friends, well, it depends who you're with, but your friends are talking about the song by Drake, and, you know, like, it's kind of like crazy how, you know, you would use that in your church, and, you know, you use that to explain this is what God's purpose, you know, is for you. And now it's kind of just used like as like a joke. But yeah, like it's just referring, like if you say God's plan, you're thinking, oh, like the song, and you're like, oh, you just start singing the song and it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, like how I see it, rather than the Drake song, is just kind of what God wants for you. And kind of, I see, like, as in you say it with your friends who believe, you know, in God, it's kind of like if something happens and you're like, oh, that sucks, or like, oh, that's great, or, you know, you don't know why something is happening, like why something is happening, you can kind of just refer to, oh, like it's God's plan, you know, that's what he wants for you, you know, he's in control. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. Like our generation has definitely made like a mockery of it, just because not everyone is like believing in God and thinking that there is a God that actually has a plan for everyone's life. That can definitely be like confused when we do say it now. But definitely in the biblical sense, it's very true when you say God's plan. Like that is no joke. Like he really does have a plan for each one of us. So Jason, do you want to add anything on that one?
Just to ask you guys a question. So, you know, Maddie spoke about Drake and his song. Like, what was the idea behind, you know, God's plan in Drake's song that you think most people understand?
Maddie.
Sorry, Jason, can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. In Drake's song, like what is it? What's the idea of his understanding of God's plan? What do you think it is?
Just kind of like where he is now, you know, he's this, you know, huge singer. He's one of the most famous people in the world, and he's talking, oh, you know, God did this for me, this is why I'm so famous, even though clearly we know that like he has not. I mean, I obviously don't know his heart, but you know, probably like, you know, he does not in a sense, you know, he's not talking with God to see, you know, where he kind of came now, and he kind of just sang the song and just been, yeah, God got me here, even though he probably doesn't you know, speak with God. So
Yeah, so that's a good one. I think, you know, him talking about God's plan, you know, he's minimizing it to talk about like his successes and so on. And it's funny how, you know, when you talk about your successes and stuff like that, and you see some of the things that he'll do, you know, he wants everybody to know that, okay, I'm giving to this charity, or I'm doing this. And, you know, God doesn't want us. He says that when you do something with your right hand, don't let your left hand know. So yeah, so I really do think it's taking away people thinking of God's plan is about salvation, not about just making me the most well-known in the world.
Most definitely. Thank you, Jason, for that question. And I do want to invite anyone who is on the Zoom, you guys can put some questions in the chat. Even if we've passed the idioms, we can come back to them if you guys have questions. Or if you want to give an idiom that you would like us to discuss about, you can do that too. And I'm just going to ask them a few more, and then we'll close if there's no more questions. So my next one is giving the benefit of the doubt. Jason, you're going to start off.
Yeah, I think that one is a definite yes. We are always to think the best of one another in order to edify and encourage one another. And then if there's always an issue, or if there's an issue, then we use Matthew 18, you know, we go to the person and so on and discuss with them and go like that. So it's always an escalation up like that, instead of, you know, when you don't give someone the benefit of the doubt, you're going to assume the worst. And yeah.
Maddie, do you want to add anything on that one?
I personally cannot really add like that one. That one's a weird one for me. Like I've heard it and I use it, but at the same time, like I don't fully like understand it. So
Jason, do you want to maybe give
yeah,
like a little explanation of what it is?
But I don't know why I use it. Like I don't know like the deep, you know, like the literal meaning for it. So
and that is why we're having this discussion, because we use idioms and we don't really know the real meaning behind them. So Jason, give us some context on that one.
Sure. So the most commonly understood is you know, giving someone you know, like the benefit of the doubt is believing when, you know, someone tells you something and you believe them, you know, without actually fact checking. You know, okay, now this is like bringing up a whole nother discussion, you know, like of social media and whether we should give people the benefit of the doubt when we hear them talk about, oh, this happened in politics, or this sort of thing, or that sort of thing. Where on social media, we really need to fact check. So let's just get that right. But when it comes to building relationships with one another, when someone tells you something, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt and believe what they say. I think you find that children also, they thrive in that sort of environment when you believe them, versus when you doubt them and be like, no, and you know, that sort of thing. And yeah, I think that's important. Makes sense, Maddie?
Yeah, I got it now. I remember. Yeah.
So Maddie, do you want to say anything more on that then?
Well, yeah, I just, you know, agree with Jason, you know. I think like kind of giving people the benefit of the doubt, like I believe in it because I like to hopefully see the best in everyone, even though sometimes, you know, like they're not the best. So that's personally kind of how I kind of see it. And I also think, you know, like it's necessary in a relationship to build trust. You know, like if, you know, you're in a relationship and you're going to give that person the benefit of the doubt, hoping that, you know, they're like being truthful, and it's just kind of how you trust each other, and hopefully they have good intentions and a good heart. So yeah.
Thank you, Maddie. I think also to add on to what Jason was saying, not only fact check social media, I think it is important that we also understand that within the church, it's important to go home and study it on your own and not give the benefit of the doubt because not always what is said in church, maybe purposely or accidentally, but not always it is exactly right. And it's important, like in your own walk, that you do fact check what is being said to you in that sense.
Great one, Kiana. Like, I'm very glad you brought that up. So we talked about, giving the benefit of the doubt, and that's like in relationship building. But if you're talking about your own maturity, spiritual growth, your own salvation, that sort of thing, definitely, like, you have to fact check.
Right.
Yeah, also I'd like to add, like, I know like a lot of youth who, like they just hear people in the church and elders in the church, don't do this, don't do that. And, it says it's in the Bible, but like it's never explained, and people don't really kind of believe them. Like they don't check for themselves. So like you were saying, Kiana, I feel like it's very important for youth to go on their own and study, the Bible by themselves and learn kind of what God has to say about it, rather than just kind of like, not listening to
Hearing.
So, yeah.
For sure. Okay, so we're gonna move on. I don't see any questions at the moment in the chat, but we do have a few more for you guys. Jason, you can start this one off. Heard it on a grapevine. So maybe explain what that means first.
Oh, okay. I do have one or two questions here on my side, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I'm doing it on my phone, so it's kind of all.
Oh, no worries.
In one screen. Sorry.
I'll dive in. So one of them is breaking a leg. What do we think about breaking a leg? So when someone says break a leg, Maddie, are you familiar with that one? Kiana?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that one I do not hear all the time, because I feel like that's more for like art kids, that are all like in the show business and like theater. And that's what I think, like I see it in movies, and I'm pretty sure people say that behind stage on the theater. So but yeah, break a leg, I guess I'll explain it, like kind of just like good luck, like I don't even know why it's break a leg, like that's so random. I don't even see like a relation to that, but it kind of just means good luck. So I personally I rarely use it, or have I heard it that much, because I'm not like a theater kid, so I don't really do shows, but that's kind of my give or take on it. But yeah, relating it like biblically, I mean, well, a lot of people don't believe like in luck. Like it just depends, if you, because it's talking about luck. So, people, there's no luck when there's God, because God is literally the one doing everything and planning everything. So it's not just by luck that this happens. It's, God's work. So that's how you can kind of see it biblically. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally agree with Maddie, and I don't really know where it came from either. Like break a leg is so out of context of just saying good luck. So Jason, I don't know if you wanna fill us in.
I'm glad that you guys are like honest about that and are sharing. You are definitely down the right road, which is very interesting to see how idioms are passed down. So break a leg, it is used in theater. That's where it kind of began. But have you guys heard of superstitions? You know that it's not a good idea to wish someone like luck, like right before going on stage, or to say like I don't know, something like what's one that might be popular to say, like, or to see the bride before the wedding day, like before, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Like seeing like a black cat or something,
Yeah,
stepping on a crack, those types.
Yeah, so people would always believe in superstitions, and to wish someone good luck before they go on stage is just asking for trouble in their minds, and so they would do the opposite and say break a leg, so as not to invite superstition. That's where that comes from.
Definitely, we should not use it.
There we go. Good.
Jason, if you want, you can share the next one because I don't see it.
Sure. I think there was just one more, which was, do you think that if something bad happens, it's God's plan? And why?
It's a good question.
Who's going?
You could start. I gotta think about that.
Oh, great. Okay, personally, like I feel like there's just a lot of factors in it. And I'm still actually figuring that one out myself. But I see it as like there could be different reasons. Like it could be like a trial that God is putting in your life, or it can even just be Satan, trying to attack you. And like, God's allowing it because like he wants you to build your faith and trust in him. Or like maybe God, like I said, like he has to, it's like a consequence maybe of something that like you should learn from what you did. Like if you do something wrong, like he may want you to face the consequences so you can realize why you shouldn't be doing that. So I feel like there's like a lot of like, it could really just, there's different reasons, I would say, like different, yeah, that's what I would see it personally. Yeah.
Jason, can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Sure. So God's plan. Do you think that if something bad happens to you, it is God's plan?
Okay.
And why?
I personally don't think so. I think God has really our best interest at heart, especially when it comes to his plan for our lives. I think sometimes, like Maddie was saying, there's things that we decide not to fall in line with his plan, and circumstances that end up creating bad situations, but that wasn't his plan. So in that way, I don't think every bad thing that happens to us is, well, what's his plan for our life? That makes sense.
So I'm going to read Jeremiah 29:11. You guys are familiar with this one. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and to give you a hope. So in other versions, it says, I know the plans that I have for you. And so they're plans for good and not for evil. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Also, like
I would. Question.
Oh, sorry. Or
go.
Also, like kind of how I would explain kind of how I see it, as in like it could be God or it can even be Satan. Is like Job, because Satan, came in and was like, like I'm gonna mess with Job and let's see, like, what's gonna happen. He might just stop like following you. And God was like, okay, like test him, like, he said, let's do it. So, that was Satan, attacking Job. And then God, he was just like letting it happen because he wanted to prove that, I have very faithful servants who will always trust me. And, like in the end, I will bless them. So I feel like it could be God's plan, but also like, Satan can come in and God could be like, okay, like I need to strengthen them and test their faith. So, yeah.
Okay.
Jason, I don't know if you saw another one that was in the chat, but I will read it. Based on what we believe that God has your life planned, etc., how do you reconcile the verse in Ecclesiastes 9 verse 11 that says time and chance happens to everyone?
So I like Ecclesiastes. It's a book that kind of looks at the cynical view of things, and I love how King Solomon, I'm actually just going to read it here. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor the bread to the wise, nor the riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. So I think how I understand it is, time is something that happens independent of what you and I can do. So for example, time, things like the Sabbath happens for everyone. A Monday happens for everybody. The opportunity to, well, as we understand it, the opportunity to, accept Christ, the opportunity to love, be loved, like in the general and the most common picture, everybody has an opportunity for each of these things. And I think that gives us an opportunity to grow as individuals. So I think that one isn't actually really talking about any sort of luck that we don't believe in. I think that one's more talking about that the way that the world operates and the way that things happen around us follow a certain, schedule that God has designed. And so we, as being subjects to those things, must make the most of it, make the most of the time, and to make the most of the chances that we have, in order to either win the race, or in this one, as it describes, be strong, or, win the battle, get bread, and so on. So, yeah.
Maddie, do you want to add anything?
Actually, I agree with Jason, how God, in the time that we were here, he's giving us chances, and he's giving us opportunities, and it's kind of, while you're here, you need to follow him, and I guess take the best of what God has given you. So I would just agree with Jason.
Thank you, Maddie. We are running out of time, so I want to thank everyone who has tuned in and who has taken part in our conversation. And at this time, I'm just going to ask Maddie and Jason if you want to say a couple words to close.
Sure. I would just say, idioms, because we were talking about them, they are important. I feel like they're a part, of culture. They're used in different cultures, different idioms, and it's passed down from generations, or there's new ones made, and they really, I guess, help just express the situation, and kind of, it can even motivate you in different ways. And especially the biblical idioms can really help us kind of have a better understanding of what God has in store for us, his plan for us, and just how we can be motivated. Yeah.
Thank you, Maddie. Jason, you want to share your closing thoughts?
Sure. So for me, I think it was just about recognizing sort of like maybe a two-step process in your mind. One is first kind of clarify what this idiom means to the person, what it means to the culture, and that sort of thing, so that so that you can start then comparing it to what's spiritual and what isn't. I think, like Maddie's saying, that they are important. They communicate a lot of things that help us to relate to one another easier. And yeah, I definitely welcome them. I just really also encourage each of us to kind of know the spiritual aspect behind them, or at least know our Bibles well enough so that we can rightly divide the word and the truth, because it becomes really, really helpful to know it. And we've had a great discussion around these, and I hope you guys will share it with some of your friends and so on.
Right. Thank you. Yes. And it's important, we looked at mostly worldly idioms, but there is some idioms actually in the Bible. But it's important, like you were saying, look at culture and really make sure that what we're saying is always in line with our hearts and our purpose for our life, to live for God. So thank you again, Jason and Maddie, for coming on to this conversation today. Thank you again to everyone who has tuned in. And we're just going to close with our last song, Lord, I Love You by Dynamic Praise. Have a great evening, everyone. And we will see you next week, same time at 3:00 for another wonderful discussion.